All right, let's go over the integumentary word roots. So the integumentary system: skin, hair, nails, sweat, oil glands, sensory receptors. So everything that we're talking about has something to do with kind of those structures. Okay, so we'll start with adipose, like adipose tissue, a connective tissue, of course. So adipose tissue helps to insulate the body and helps to cushion the body, protect the body. What is adipose? What kind of tissue is adipose? Adipose is fat. Okay, so adipose means fat. And that's it. Just adipose, fat, adipose. Okay, albino. So albinism is pretty much where we would see this, right? Albino is a word on its own, of course. So if somebody has albinism, what are they lacking in the skin? Somebody with albinism might have essentially no melanin in the skin. And melanin is what gives the skin a darker pigment. The more melanin somebody has, the darker their skin tone is. So lack of melanin results in albinism. And albino means white. Okay, so somebody with albinism might have white hair, just everywhere. The eyes might be really sensitive to light. Just really pale skin as a result. Okay, so albino means white. Cero, like cirrhosis. So this is a color. So if somebody has cirrhosis, what color might their skin look like? What color might you see in the skin if somebody has cirrhosis? Cirrhosis of the liver, where the liver is damaged and replaced with scar tissue, right? So any kind of liver disorder might result in the skin turning a yellow color. Okay, so cero means yellow. Okay, so just remember that if somebody has cirrhosis, the skin could look yellow. Okay, cutaneo, like cutaneous. And then we have subcutaneous tissue, subcutaneous adipose, of course, fat under the skin, right? Cutaneo means skin. Okay, so if something is subcutaneous, there's the layer of skin. Then just below that is the skin. Subcutaneous layer is where you find a lot of that fat that helps to cushion the body. Okay, so cutaneo, skin. Cyano. Now, if you just think of the color cyan, what color is cyan? Like what color does that fall under? Does that shade fall under? Cyanosis is an example. The color is blue, of course. So if somebody has cyanosis, their lips might become kind of blue. The hands, the fingertips might look blue. The skin itself might look blue. Not a good thing. Cyanosis, your body might not be getting proper circulation, proper oxygen delivered in places that it needs to, especially in something like hypothermia, where all of your blood kind of rushes to the center of the body because it can sacrifice the arms, the legs, everything else. Everything that isn't in the trunk might look a little bluish because it doesn't have enough blood pumping through it. Okay. Dermo, of course, dermatologist is a doctor that specializes in what? Dermatitis is inflammation of what? What is the dermis? These are all skin, of course. So dermo means skin. Dermatologist specializes in the skin. Dermatitis, inflammation of the skin. Something like eczema, atopic dermatitis. That's a good example. Okay, erythema. Excuse me. My mouth does not want to work sometimes. Erythema. Like lupus erythematosus. Lupus erythematosis. What do you think? Now, this with lupus, you can see some things with lupus. The reason it's called lupus is because somebody with lupus might develop a butterfly rash on the face that kind of looks like the markings you would find on the face of a wolf. That's where the term lupus comes in. Now, erythematosis might refer to rashes that somebody might get on the skin as a result of the lupus. And the rash is going to have a reddish appearance. So erythemo means red. Okay. Just kind of like erythrocytes, red blood cells. Erythemo means red. Okay, what about hydro? H-I-D-R-O. Now, this is different than H-Y-D-R-O, right? This is different. That H-Y-D-R-O refers to water, right? Like a fire hydrant or hydrotherapy. This is a little different. Hyperhidrosis is a condition that we find with the integumentary system where somebody does too much of something. What can we have too much of? Now, I will say this hydro, H-I-D-R-O, and the water hydro, H-Y-D-R-O, are pretty similar. Pretty similar. So this hydro is sweat. So hyperhidrosis, somebody sweats too much. Had a friend of mine who had hyperhidrosis. You know, armpits, always sweaty. Not much you can do about it. I think he took steroids for it. Try to calm everything down in there, but I don't know. He might still be dealing with that. I haven't seen him in a while. But hyperhidrosis, excessive sweating. So make sure you know H-I-D-R-O is sweat. H-Y-D-R-O is just water itself. Okay. Moving on. Histo, like histology. Not the study of history, of course. Histology. Histo means tissue. So histology is the study of tissues, the body's tissues. So we're studying the epidermis. We're getting into histology, right? We're studying the connective tissues of the body, studying histology, right? Okay. Moving on. Ichthyo. Now, there was a dinosaur, swimming dinosaur, Ichthyosaurus, state fossil, state of Nevada, where I live, state fossil, Ichthyosaurus. Pretty popular beer called the Icky around here, named after it. Anyway, so look it up. Yeah, whenever you're in Nevada, look up the Icky beer. Pretty good. Anyway. I digress. Ichthyosaurus was a dinosaur, of course. Ichthyosis is a condition in the skin that makes the skin look a certain way. Now, how does it make the skin look? Ichthyosis. What does the skin look like if somebody has ichthyosis? The skin kind of looks scaly. Okay, so icthyo means scaly. It gives the skin kind of a scaly appearance, causes it to be really dry and look really scaly. Not to be confused with something like psoriasis, which we'll talk about at some point. But ichthyo means scaly. Okay, so ichthyosis, that swimming dinosaur, scaly, I suppose. Okay, moving on. Jondo, like jaundice. Now, if somebody has jaundice, what color does their skin kind of start to turn a little bit? Jaundice. You can see it in the eyes as well. Jaundice, your skin basically turns yellow, right? So you can see that in the white of the eyes, the sclera of the eyes turns yellow as well. There's too much bilirubin floating around in the body, and it causes the skin and the eyes to turn a yellowish tint. It's definitely noticeable. I've seen it up close, and it's no, you know when somebody has jaundice. So anyway, Jondo means yellow, just like if somebody has cirrhosis of the liver, it can cause a yellowing of the skin as well. It can cause jaundice yellow. Okay. Moving on, kerato, like keratin in the skin. Now, I go to the gym, I lift weights, I have an increased amount of keratin in these areas, which causes the skin in these areas, when I'm lifting my weights, I got my weights right over here, of course. So when I'm lifting those weights, I'm putting a lot of pressure on the skin, and that causes an increased amount of keratin to be produced, which causes the skin to feels hard in these areas. Okay. Kind of a way to protect those areas, developing calluses, and that's what those are. Those are calluses, and calluses have an increased amount of keratin in the area. So kerato means hard. Okay, so those areas are going to be a little harder than the rest of the skin. Just a way to protect them, make grasping something a little bit easier. And you have calluses in any place where you experience a lot of friction, probably a lot on your feet. Everybody does. Kind of anybody that walks a lot, it's going to have calluses on the feet. Keratin, increased keratin. Okay, moving on. Lipo. Now I think lipo, we hear lipo, we think liposuction, right? What about lipoma? Is a tumor made of adipose, which is also called fat. Okay, so lipo means fat. Liposuction, they're jabbing a needle in there that sucks out fat. A lipoma is a fatty tumor, which is not really that dangerous unless it's in a part of your body that could put pressure on stuff like your neck or other structures. But typically, you just kind of get those removed. Not too difficult to do. Of course, go to a professional to do that. Lipoma, fatty tumor. Lipo means fat. Okay. Melano. What about melano? Like melanin. Melanoma. Let's think about melanoma for a second. The term melanoma. Oma means tumor. So it's a tumor of the melanin, right? And what color does that tumor look like? What color is the tumor? If somebody has melanoma, and that's how you kind of know that it's something to get checked out, as opposed to like a regular lesion on the skin. With melanoma, the tumor is black. Okay, so melano means black. Melanoma means black tumor. It's a tumor that is black in color. Now, typically when somebody has melanin in an area, it's not completely black, but if a lesion, if a growth on the skin is completely black, that means there's a ton of melanin in that area. And it might be something that needs to get checked out, especially if it's, over a quarter of an inch in diameter, and if the sides don't match up, if there isn't symmetry between the sides, a whole lot of symmetry. We'll talk about it with when we get to pathology in the cancer section. So go check that out, of course. So melano means black. Okay, just like leuco means white, albino means white, melano means black. Okay. What about myco? Myco. Onychomycosis is our example. Onychomycosis. So onycho, we're going to talk about this in just a sec. Onycho means nails. Okay. Osis means there's a condition of the nails. So what kind of condition might we have with our nails? What do you think? We could have something growing on the nails. Myco means fungus. Okay, so onychomycosis, you have fungus growing on the nails. It could be fingernails, it could be toenails. Just any nail can be infected by fungus and result in onychomycosis. Okay. Speaking of onycho, like we just said, nails. So onychomycosis, nail fungus condition, onychomycosis. Okay. Moving on. Pylo, like the erector pili muscles. What do the erector pili muscles attach to? What do you think? Where do we find the erector pili muscles? In the skin, of course, but what do they connect to? Erector means they're going to stand something up, right? So what are they going to stand up in the skin when they contract? These muscles contract, and it pulls on hair. Okay, so hair is what pili means. So the erector pili muscles will pull on the hair and cause the hair to stand up. That's what gives you goosebumps. Of course, R.L. Stein, Goosebumps. Oh, what was my favorite Goosebumps? It's another story for another time. Of course, my favorite Goosebumps book. So pillow means hair. Pylo, erector pili muscles, hair. Moving on. Phyto. Not Fido, like a dog. Phyto, Phyto. Like dermatophytosis. What is dermatophytosis? Oh, that's weird. Dermato means skin. Phyte means this, and then osis, condition. So it's some sort of skin condition where something is happening with the skin. Something is possibly growing on the skin. Phyto means plant. Okay, so dermatophytosis is a plant, quote unquote plant, growing on the skin. So ringworm is dermatophytosis. So it's a fungal infection on the skin. Okay. Moving on, SIBO or SEBO. Okay. Sebaceous cyst is an example. Sebaceous gland is another example. So what does SIBO mean? What do sebaceous glands make? What is made by sebaceous glands? Sebaceous glands make oil, right? And oil, the scientific term for oil produced by sebaceous glands is sebum. Okay, so sebum, SIBO means sebum. So sebaceous glands make sebum or oil. Sebaceous cysts are cysts of sebaceous glands. So you have an increased amount of oil being produced inside the sac, and not good. You probably don't want a sebaceous cyst. I know, it's a controversial statement. You probably don't want it. Anyway, moving on. Squamo. So some examples. We have the squamous suture. You see that, right? Angle this a little better. Right here. This is the squamous suture. Squamous cell carcinoma is another example, right? So we look at this suture. I know it's going to be a little bit weird, this definition, but how it's positioned on the skull is what gives it its name. Okay, so squamo means scale. Okay, so this kind of resembles a scale. So if you were to layer a few more on here, maybe it would look scaly, I guess. Squamous cell carcinoma is a tumor that kind of looks scaly in the skin. Second most common form of skin cancer, of course, behind basal cell. But anyway, so squamo means scale. So squamous cell carcinoma looks scaly. The squamous suture looks like a scale on the side of the skull, joining the temporal bone and the parietal bone on each side. Okay. So moving on. Sudoro. So it's like the sudoriferous glands. What do the sudoriferous glands make? And here's another example where we have two terms that mean the same things. We already went over one earlier. Here's another example. So hydro, Hydro, means the same as this. Sudoriferous glands make sweat. Okay, so that's essentially it. Sudoriferous glands make sweat. Hydro, Hydro, means sweat as well. Okay, tricho, like trichomoniasis. What do you think? This is yet another one where you can have the two terms. There are a lot of these, I've noticed. So it means the same as pylo. The erector pili muscles do what to their structures? They stand them up, right? What do they stand up in the skin? The hair, right? So tricho also means hair. So just connect those two, I suppose. Unguo. Tinea unguium. Tinea. Okay, so tinea is a term that just means fungus, right? It's some sort of fungal infection somewhere. So there are a few different types. Tinea pedis, of course, athlete's foot. Tinea cruris, Tinea capitis, fungus on the head. Then we have Tinea unguium. I mean, we kind of already talked about this a little bit. Onychomycosis. So Tinea unguium is a fungal infection of the nails. Okay, so ungual also means nail. Just like onycho means nail, unguo means nail as well. Okay, so Tinea unguium, fungal infection on the nails. Okay, xantho. Oh, this is another color. Another color that we've already mentioned a few times in this brief little lesson. Xantho. Like xanthoma. What color is the tumor? We have xanthoma. Well, it's the same color as cero, like cirrhosis, and jondo, like jaundice. It is yellow, of course. Okay, so xanthoma is a yellow tumor. Okay, and then we have xero, Xero. Xerothalmia, of course. So it's something to do with the eyes. What happens to the eyes? Xerothalmia. What happens to the eyes? This kind of happens to me when I'm on my bike rides in the winter. My eyes start watering really bad because they become dry during my bike rides for whatever. So it looks like I'm openly weeping during my bike rides. But xero means dry. So your skin can become dry, of course. Your eyes can become dry. Xero, dry. Okay, so that just about wraps up the integumentary system.